The thumbnail, I referenced the language of the birds, and we're going to get into what that means. But let's start off with exploring a particular symbol set. One of the things that I like to do on a lot of these live streams is to start off with a divination. And in this case, and a lot of the times, I like to use the I Ching. And rather than doing a full elaborate I Ching reading, like with coins or yarrow stocks or whatever other of the various multitude ways of deriving a hexagram, because it takes a long time, I'm just going to do bibliomancy. So I use this book, the I Ching by Benabel Wen, and then I will open it up at a random hexagram, and then I'll read the oracle portion of that hexagram. And then we'll see what we get, and we'll see if it's relevant to anybody that's watching this, or whether it's live, or if you happen to cross this video, this will be a divination for anybody who's watching today. And also, this divination should be relevant, hopefully, to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Okay, so let's see what we get. Okay, so we got hexagram 40, which is release of tension. Interesting. Okay, so this ends up being the water trigram with the thunder trigram above it. So thunder above water. So I'll show you what that looks like. So these are symbols. Each of the lines in a hexagram from the I Ching is either broken or unbroken. And that is a symbol of whether it is yin or yang. The yang ones are the unbroken lines, and the yin lines are the broken lines. So we have, let's see here, we have 4 yin lines and 2 yang lines that compose this hexagram if you take a look at that. And I'll read the oracle, and we'll see what that has to say for us tonight before we get into it. Oh, and my glasses broke. That's okay. I'll read it without. I'll do it without. Okay. When your endeavor has not been completed, do not procrastinate. Bring it to completion. When your endeavor has been completed, a prompt return to stability will bring you good fortune. Do not bask in the afterglow of glory. Go straight back to work. What you contemplate doing, proceed with. You will outsmart even the smart. You hunt rather than run. Savor this with those who bring you sorrow. Oh, sorry. Sever ties with those who bring you sorrow. It is in your endeavor, you encounter naysayers. Cut yourself loose from their hold over you. The untying of a knot. The unraveling of a complication. Redemption is recovery. Interesting. And I managed to get through it without my glasses. So, the untying of a knot. Interesting. And to sever ties with naysayers. Don't let them drain your energy. proceed with what you intend to proceed with, and keep going, I think is what they're trying to say. And keep going. Don't just sit around and, you know, bask in the glory of your success. Keep going. And I think that that's great advice. Does that resonate with anybody here? Any of that? Okay. So, symbols. What is a symbol? A symbol is something that represents something else. When you break it down, a symbol is something that represents another thing, or a meaning of something. And generally, um, it means multiple things. It's not just one thing that it means. Um, if it was one defined meaning, then I like to think of that as a sign rather than a symbol. Or that's at least what I was taught when I was a kid. But a symbol has deep meaning that can be interpreted, and we can keep going deeper with it. It's forever, really. We can continue going further and further into the meaning of a symbol, that it can continue. It's a wellspring of meaning that can reveal itself further and more in depth the more you spend time with it. So, a hexagram from the I Ching is a symbol, and it is composed of symbols. Each of those lines represents a yin or a yang line. The word itself, yin, and the word yang, each of those are symbols, and they are pointers, really. They kind of, it's a linguistic reference to a concept. When I say yin or yang, if you've studied these terms, it'll immediately trigger the understanding of the underlying concept. If you haven't studied it, then you may have a more vague idea of what that means. Um, Generally, if we um, actually, if we take a diagram, there's a diagram that we can look at that shows the idea of yin and yang in a different way rather than just letters or words or symbols, such as like the Chinese characters that were originally used for those words, or the English letters. And each English letter, each Chinese character, all of these are symbols as well. Everything really that we experience is symbolic, ultimately. Every sound coming out of my mouth as I communicate to you, when I say words that you can understand, it's a sequence of notes and intonations that convey concepts symbolically. I'm not beaming a concept directly into your mind. I am encoding it in symbols, and I'm encoding them in the form of vibrations of sound, different frequencies in which that I'm compressing the air in the room, and it gets picked up by the microphone, and then a speaker on your end recreates those pressure waves in the air, which hit the ear canal and travel down the ear canal, those waves of pressure, pressurized air, and the mechanism inside the ear when it hits the eardrum, there's like those tiny little bones in there, there's fluid, and there are nerve endings. They get stimulated and converted into an electrochemical signal that travel into the brain, and the brain then takes that raw data and it picks up what it determines to be meaningful patterns within that raw data of nerve energy. And then it takes those patterns of nerve energy that were created through the stimulation in the eardrum from pressurized air. It takes those patterns of nerve energy coming from that particular source, and it puts it through a filter, and it recognizes meaningful patterns, and then it renders it out as an auditory experience. And then you hear sound. You hear my voice speaking words to you. Hi, True Detective. I'm glad you could make it tonight. And though that experience of the sound of my voice is internally generated in your mind, that is a subjective experience that you are having, in which your brain has generated from the pattern recognition of the nerve energy that was created from the stimulation of the nerves in your ear because of the pressurized air patterns that were produced by the speaker, which in turn um, was picked up by this microphone from my vocal cords. And so there's all these different levels of translation, you know. Um, I'm translating ideas in my mind into words that I want to speak, which then get translated into pressurized patterns of air in my vocal cords as I articulate those words. All of these are symbols, you see. Um, now, the experience of my voice is symbolic. Now, the nerve energy patterns coming through the nerves in your ear going into your brain, that's not a symbol. That's the raw data coming in. It's when your brain filters that raw data and picks out meaningful patterns and then renders it as an experience which it presents to your conscious mind as hearing my voice. That's symbolic. Seeing my face, seeing these colors on the wall behind me, all of that is a symbolic experience. Now, when I talk, it's a little more obvious because the language we speak is symbolic. It's representing concepts. Every word that I speak, and when I string those words together into sentences, that creates a pattern of concepts that you will interpret, and that's me encoding the meaning of what I want to convey symbolically into vocal speech. Now, I can encode meaning in other ways as well. as I'd mentioned, visually, I'm wearing this medallion tonight. It is a pendant which has a symbol, and I'll show you that. The main symbol on this pendant, which is um, red enameled with a metallic engraving, and that is it's actually you can feel it. It's above, it's the word, but that's the sigil of Lucifer. Now that means something to people who understand what that means. It also means something to people who don't understand what I'm trying to convey with that. And it means something different for a lot of people than what I am actually trying to convey by wearing this. So some people will see that and they'll think evil, scary, Ruth likes the pendant. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. Yeah, this was actually a gift from Michael W. Ford. He gave this to me at an event. I said that I liked it, and he said, "Here, take it." And I was like, "Well, really?" And he said, "Yeah." So he gave that to me as a gift because I expressed my admiration of this item, and I thought that it was really cool. And he gave it to me. So what I'm conveying when I wear this is the idea behind Lucifer and the concept behind what this symbol represents to me personally, and to a lot of people who are watching this as well, understand what I mean by that. And it comes down to the word itself, Lucifer, which is a Latin word. And Latin, again, is a language, and all languages are symbolic. None of them are literal. Like, even the language of the birds, which I'll get into. But um, Latin, like English or any other language, is a series of well, depends on if it's spoken, which usually languages tend to be spoken languages, but they can also be written languages, like a notation, for example. Either way, the word Lucifer is a Latin word. It comes from the Latin language, and it means bringer of light or light bearer. And if we think of light itself as a symbol, you know, um, it is probably one of the more primal archetypal symbols out there. So before we even had a word for light, it meant knowledge and awareness. And likewise, darkness meant ignorance and lack of awareness, because when there is light, we can see. We have the ability to see things. We have the ability to become aware of objects in our environment. And when there isn't light, it makes it a lot harder to know what's there, to have the knowledge of what's in your presence, right? And so that gets extended out into further subtle meanings of that. So light itself means knowledge and awareness. It's a symbol of knowledge and awareness. And So to bring the light, or to be a bearer of the light, is to be the force of enlightenment, right? Of illumination. And these are words that, I mean, illumination literally means to be illuminated by the light, to have the light shine on you, right? Um, but symbolically, and oh, and there goes another one of my sources of light. Let me get that back. But um, symbolically, to be enlightened, and that word light is in there, it means to have that knowledge, to have that awareness. And so Lucifer means to bring the light, it's a force of bringing awareness. And that's what this symbol means to me, the sigil of Lucifer. It's a symbol of bringing that awareness, dispelling ignorance, and to attain knowledge, often knowledge that is hidden from us or forbidden even from those who benefit from keeping us ignorant. And we can get into realms of Gnosticism if we go down that route even further. But tonight I wanted to focus on symbols. Were there any questions that anybody had here? Feel free to leave the questions in the live chat here. Now, as I was saying, when you have the experience of hearing my voice, for example, or seeing my face, seeing the symbol, um, if you see anything, that is a symbolic experience that's being generated internally from raw sensory data. The same analysis that I gave of how pressurized patterns of air entering into your ear canal get transferred into nerve energy patterns, which then in turn get transferred into the internally generated experience of sound, hearing sound. Um, the same thing is true of seeing. When light enters into the eye, when it bounces off an object or from directly from a source of light enters into the eye, part of it hits the cornea of your eye, it gets focused onto the retina. Certain frequencies and intensities of light will cause the rods and cones on the retina to trigger off an electrochemical signal, nerve energy, you could call it, which travels along the optic nerve into the visual cortex of the brain. And again, that raw nerve energy, the pattern of raw nerve energy gets filtered by the brain, and it looks for patterns, meaningful patterns that it detects. And it will then take those meaningful patterns and render them into a visual experience, which then it presents to the conscious mind. And that's the subjective experience of seeing. Color does not exist objectively in the world. There are frequencies of light, but the experience of color is an internally generated symbolic experience as a way to symbolically represent certain wavelengths and frequencies of light. The how strong the light um, is captured by the rods on our retina. And that gets translated into how intense the light is, the experience of that light. And so you can tell by the experience of whether you are experiencing blue or bright blue. You know that there's a bright blue source of light in in some form or another, or that light has bounced off something and only the blue frequency of light didn't get absorbed. It bounced off of it, and that got into your eyeball. So that experience, all experience that you have is internally generated, and it's a symbolic representation of something external. And we can interpret that symbolically. We can take it on a very shallow level and interpret it symbolically, say, okay, well, this experience of something blue is a representation of the fact that there's a light in my environment that's vibrating within certain bandwidth of frequencies that we refer to as the color blue, right? But we can take it further than that. Now, let's diverge from this for a second. We're kind of walking around the idea of the language of the birds, which is also reading the book of nature. But let's step back for a moment, and we'll come back at it again. So, when you fall asleep and you have a dream, and various events occur, different objects appear in your dream, different individuals appear in your dream, and you wake up, and then you remember the dream and you write it down in your dream journal, which you should do. Then you can look at that and review the dream and say, okay, well, these events happened. I experienced these objects, these individuals, these situations. This is what happened, the sequence of events, etc. Nomad Archer just gave a super chat of $2. Thank you very much, Nomad Archer. I really appreciate the support. Another way to support this channel is through the Patreon. And actually, I should have put a link. Actually, let me do that now. To the Patreon in the description of the video. This will just take 1 second here. All right. So if you refresh the video, or actually, I'll also put it right here. I'll put a couple links here. Actually, you know what? Let me just put the one in particular. Then that's the Patreon. And you can join that at the $5 tier or above. And that will actually unlock all kinds of content, all kinds of exclusive content, including community events, including after this live stream, which I'm going to end this live stream at around 11:11 p.m. Eastern time. So we have just about 40 minutes left before that. And there'll be a private meeting for members of the Novus Ordo Luciferi, and you can join, like I said, you can participate in the order by going to that Patreon link that I just posted in the live chat, and it's also in the description of this video as a $5 tier or above. And if you go to the Patreon, the most recent post has the link for tonight's meeting in there, and you can join us. And we're going to chat about whatever we feel like chatting about. You'll have an opportunity to ask me questions. You'll have an opportunity to get to know other members. And we have a very large growing community of dedicated occultists and esotericists that are learning Luciferian alchemy together. If you go to the novusordoluciferi.org website, that will also have a course catalog which will unlock for you if you log in with your Patreon, if you are a $5 tier subscriber or above. And there are over 40 hours worth of video lessons embedded within the modules of those courses. There's a full learning platform on there. Plus, you'll get access to all the written documents of teachings and practices. Some of those courses are really cool, by the way. We have lucid dreaming, astral projection, tarot, I Ching. We have self hypnosis. We have how to improve your dream recall. We have energy work practices, including a full walkthrough of a very powerful energy work practice that I developed called Stoking the Black Flame, and it's heavily inspired by Taoist internal alchemy practices. And there's a lot of material there. If you want to take your practice to the next level, absolutely, I would highly recommend. And you'll be supporting this channel and all the content that I put out for free on this public channel as well. But yeah, you'll get access to all kinds of additional content and events, like such as right after this tonight, there'll be a hangout for members. And tomorrow there's another hangout as well that is through the private Discord channel or Discord server. And that will start at, I believe, 7:30 p.m. And so we have a bunch of different things, and we're going to have even more going forward. We're going to have something quite often. And some of them are formal lessons, which get recorded and then get added to the back catalog of the course catalog. They get turned into courses, but you can catch them live and participate in them live. And then they're recorded, and then they get turned into lessons or courses, which you can take at your own pace later as well. And that course catalog continues to grow over time. Right now, I believe we have about 13 courses on the website, the Novus Ordo Luciferi website. But anyways, back to dreams. So you've had your dream, you woke up, you recorded it, and now you're reading the dream journal, and reviewing what happened in the dream. Now you can interpret that dream. And of course, that entry in the dream journal is entirely symbolic too. You have these symbols that you've drawn on the pages, letters, sometimes sketches, right? These are all symbols that represent the experience that you had, right? So you review your dream in the dream journal, and you think about, okay, well, what happened in that dream? Let me interpret that dream symbolically. So let's say True Detective asked, what does a rock or stone symbolize? So let's say that there was a rock in the dream, a stone that you have, like maybe let's say it's about this size, and you have that in your hand. I'll just say that this deck of cards here. Imagine this is a stone. Um, I have some stones over here too, but oh, over there actually. I'm not gonna. I won't get up. I'll just use this. So imagine this is your stone, right? You had this stone in your dream, and you picked it up, and you thought that it was significant for some reason, and maybe you had it with you throughout the whole dream, and you think, okay, well, that was a pretty core symbol in my dream. That was a pretty present thing. So, what does that mean? What does a stone mean? Or what does a rock? What does it mean? Well, for one thing, it could mean stability, right? That is a one of the more universal meanings of a rock or a stone. It could mean the foundation of something. It could mean um, there's a lot of different things that it could mean, and depending on the context, the situation, that can change the meaning of it. Like, for example, if that stone, if you took that and used it as a brick in a building, that could mean something. That could mean that you're constructing something, that you are building something, and this is an element that that provides stability to what you're trying to build. Now, if you picked up that stone and threw it, and you know, what did you throw it at? That could make a big difference. So, if you are if you picked up that stone and you use it to hunt food, right? Like a primitive hunter, maybe you used it to kill an animal that you then brought home to your family for sustenance, and you cooked it up and you all had a feast, and that stone can represent a weapon, but it can be a, a symbol of providing sustenance for you and your family, right? If you threw it at an enemy that was harassing you, it could be a symbol of defense, you know, like a castle, even, is also a symbol of defense, right? Of protection. It could be um, something that it could be a small stone and maybe it fell out of the sky and hit you in the head. And then it made you realize something, right? It could be that would have its own meaning as well. So the different contexts under which you experience the stone can have a different meaning. What if that was a gemstone? What specific gemstone was it? That modifies the meaning, the symbolic meaning of it. For example, in Parsifal by Wolfram von Eichenbach, there is a version of the Grail legend in which an emerald falls from the sky, falls from heaven, and this emerald came out of Lucifer's crown during the battle in heaven, during the rebellion in which Michael and Lucifer directly engaged in battle in the folkloric rebellion of the angels. And that emerald got knocked free from Lucifer's crown and fell to earth. And it was found, and it became known as the Holy Grail. And emerald has a connection symbolically, traditionally, with the planet Venus. And the planet Venus when it's seen as the last celestial object in the night sky just before the sun rose, when all the other stars have disappeared from vision, from visibility. It's the last star-like object in the sky uh, that's still holding out before the sun rises. That's Venus as the morning star. And the Romans referred to that celestial phenomenon as Lucifer, the light bearer, the bringer of the light, the herald of the dawn. It was like calling forth the light of day. It was a symbol, kind of like a rooster crowing in the morning. It calls forth the light of day almost. And therefore it brings the light. It's Lucifer. So there are a lot of different ways, True Detective, that we could interpret a stone or a rock. And it depends on which type of rock or stone. It depends on the context in which we find the stone and that sort of thing. But usually, if we want to just look at a stone and say, what does that mean? Usually it refers to strength, stability, um, unmovingness, like non reaction, sometimes it can even mean, like stone faced, right? Or trying to get blood from a stone, you know. And you can think of that symbolically as well, like not having emotions, sometimes it could mean things like that. But it can vary wildly depending on the context. Let's see. Nomad Archer said, if you can find your hands in front of you in dream, you become dream conscious in your sleeping unconscious. Very hard to remember while asleep. Carlos Castaneda, The Teachings of Don Juan. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways where you can become conscious during your dream. And let's talk about that. So, um, you can have your dream, wake up in the morning and remember it, write it down, and then you can interpret the different things that you encountered in the dream symbolically, and then say, okay, well, what kind of message was I being told through this dream, right? What does this have to tell me? What symbolic meaning does that dream have, right? Now, also, let's say you are in the dream and you realize you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. That's called a lucid dream. And there are different techniques that you can use to make lucid dreams happen more frequently, such as doing frequent state testing throughout the day, where there are certain different ways you can test to see whether or not you are in having a waking experience, or whether you're having a sleep dreaming experience. And these tests, if done sincerely, eventually work their way into a dream, because habits work their way into dreams often. And if you do it in a dream, then that can help you trigger a lucid dream. So that's one common method of improving the chances of becoming lucid during your dream, of becoming aware. And by the way, the word lucid has the same root as the word Lucifer, and and that root is the word for light, lucis, which is the Latin word for light. And so lucid means to be aware. To be lucid means to be aware. So having lucidity means to have awareness. And so that's a symbolic word that is tied to the symbolic meaning of the word light. So, by the way, if you want to achieve lucidity in your dreams, to have lucid dreams, then join that Patreon and go to novusordoluciferi.org and go to the course catalog. There is an 8 hour long video lesson, or sorry, video course. It's actually was originally a 4 week course, 2 hours per week. So you can go through that course and it will teach you about how to achieve lucidity in your dreams. It goes from very beginning to extremely advanced, some of the most advanced dream work material that you'll ever encounter. Trust me. And it's only for, you can get unlimited access to all of that material for $5 a month. And you can just do it for a month and see if you like it. And if not, then you don't have to continue. But yeah, if you want to achieve lucidity in your dreams, I would highly recommend checking out that course that members of the Novus Ordo Luciferi get access to. So, okay, so you are in your dream. You've recognized that you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. Now you're in it. You're experiencing it knowing that it's a dream. You can then interpret that dream in real time while you're experiencing it. Imagine that. Instead of having your dream, waking up and remembering it, writing it down, reviewing it, and analyzing it, you can analyze it on the fly while you're in the dream if you can become lucid. So you're there. Imagine you're in the dream and you see a rock and it seems really significant. You can, like, oh, there's a rock. What does that mean? Stability, safety, maybe something that's not changing, or maybe something that's rigid, you know? So you can start interpreting it in real time like that. And then here's where we get into the title of this video, reading the book of nature, or speaking the language of the birds. These are traditional ways to describe what I'm about to teach you right now. Now, the waking experience, which you're having right now, is also an internally generated symbolic experience, just like a dream. And you can interpret that as well in real time. Become lucid of your waking experience. Become lucid of the waking dream that you're having right now. This internally generated symbolic experience that you are currently having right now. You can interpret that in real time on the fly, just like you could interpret a lucid dream in real time on the fly. Or write down your journal, your regular daily journal of what happened during your day, and look at it, look back on the day and interpret that the same way you would interpret a dream. Both are valid, but it's very powerful if you can do it in real time. But it can take practice, right? So at the end of the day, write down in your journal, your regular journal, what happened during the day. Later on, go back over it and interpret it if you like, or right then and there before you go to bed, write down the events of the day, especially the things that seemed most significant to you. And then right then and there, interpret it the same way as you would have interpreted a dream. Then go to bed, have your sleep. When you wake up in the morning, write down any dream that you remember having over the course of the night. And then you can interpret that dream as well. And then when you get good at it, you can start interpreting the dream in real time if you can become lucid of it, and you can interpret the waking experience in real time if you can become lucid of it. If you can become lucid of the fact that you're having an internally generated symbolic experience in the moment while you are awake, having your waking experience, and to recognize that both of them are internally generated symbolic representations of something, of some meaningful thing. And then that, when you are awake and lucid and interpreting things on the fly like that, that is being able to understand the language of the birds. That's what the alchemists call it. Sometimes they called it the green language. It's reading the book of nature, and green often is a representation of nature. And that is, it said right but hard to remember. Yeah, so it takes practice. Um, but yeah, that is reading the book of nature, interpreting things symbolically in real time as you're experiencing them, looking around and saying, well, what does that represent? What I'm experiencing right now, if I look at it symbolically. And as you get better at it, that's you learning the language of the birds. That's you learning to read the book of nature. And adepts and masters will tell you that that's really the only book that you need to read if you want to gain wisdom about the nature, the secrets of nature and science. If you can read the book of nature directly, then that is a very important skill to have if you are an occultist, if you practice esotericism, if you are a mystic. That it is a very important skill to develop. And that's how you develop it. Do it in the same way as you would interpret a dream, but do it in real time. But like I said, there's steps. It's easier to practice if you write down the events of your day in your journal and review it and then think about it and say, okay, well, let me interpret that the same way as I would interpret a dream. That gets you practice. And then it becomes easier to do it in the moment if you can remember to do it. So that is the core lesson that I wanted to teach you today. And we kind of if you go back over this video, you'll see that I came at it a few times and then backed off. But eventually we got there. And I hope you'll see what I was trying to do there in trying to lead you through that journey of concepts to bring you to that idea of the language of the birds, the book of nature, how to read it. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll click the like button on this. That would be very appreciated, and I like to get that feedback. If it's something that you found valuable, then that shows me that this is something that I should lean into. You know, would you like to see a second video on symbols that take it even further, that explore symbolism and symbology in a, you know, on another like take it further and take it to another level? Let me know in the live chat if you'd like to see more videos on symbolism. Or if you're watching this after the fact, then leave it in a comment on this video, and like the video as well. If you want to get informed on when I'm going to be doing more live streams, if you go to the Patreon, which is in the description of this video as well, it's pinned in the live chat. You don't have to necessarily even join a paid tier. You can become a free follower of the Patreon. And when I am going to go live, like earlier today, I posted on there that I'm going live and when, and you'll get an email. So you'll get if you have the app, the Patreon app on your phone, you'll get a notification on your phone. Also, you'll get an email letting you know that there's a live stream tonight or in the morning, whenever it happens to be, right? Usually I do them in the evening. But I always post on the Patreon as a public free post when I'm going to do a live stream. So you'll get notified. That's the best way to get notified. Um, and then if you want to participate in the Hangouts, like we're going to have one shortly in about 15 minutes from now at 11:11 Eastern time, we'll start the private meeting for members. Then you do have to join the paid tier, but that's only $5 per month American. And that will unlock the post that has the meeting link in it for tonight. And then you can join us and we can hang out. We can chat about whatever you feel like. You can ask questions. We can get to know each other. Hey, Mike, glad you could make it. How am I doing? A lot better. If you listen to the last live stream, and I know I've talked to you about this too, Mike. But yeah, I wasn't doing too well last couple weeks, but I'm feeling much better tonight and continuing to improve. So I'm glad I was able to have a chance to do a live stream tonight and talk about this subject that I love. Um, And yeah, Mike, hopefully you'll get a chance to hang out with us tonight after this live stream. If you're around, I hope you'll join us on the private meeting. And anybody else who wants to jump on that, if you're not already a subscriber to the Patreon at the $5 tier or above, then you can do that now, and it'll unlock that post that has tonight's meeting link in it, and then we can chat about whatever. We can continue this conversation or we can talk about other things. It's up to you. And and it does support what we're doing here. It supports all this free public knowledge as well. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to take your practice to the next level, there are a bunch of really amazing courses that you get access to um, when you join the Patreon at the $5 tier or above. And those are available on the learning platform on the novusordoluciferi.org website in the course catalog. And you just log in with your Patreon account. It's like logging in with your Google account or something, but you log in with your Patreon account. It can tell if you are on the $5 tier or above, and if you are, it unlocks the full course catalog for you. And as I said, right now we have over 40 hours of video material embedded within the modules of those different courses. So if you want to take your practice to the next level, you can go through those courses. You can join us on the private Discord and we can discuss things. If you are having any problems achieving lucidity in your dreams, you can say what your experience has been, and um, we can troubleshoot together as a community. If you are having any other questions or concerns, you can bring it to the community, to myself, to other members who are on this path together. And yeah, it's a great community. And we're also developing local branches as well around the world. One in Texas, for example, one in actually more than one in Toronto, one in Toronto, one in Oshawa, Ontario, so a couple in Ontario. Um, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Good evening. Glad you could make it. Cool. I'm glad that you managed to come here tonight. We are wrapping things up um, in about 5, 6 minutes or so, and then afterwards, we're gonna have the private meeting for members. So, if does anybody have any questions? We have a few minutes left that we can chat about whatever you want. If you got any questions, we can address those. Um, are there any other topics you'd like me to cover in future live streams or even just pre recorded videos that I can record and upload? I know yesterday we did Lovecraft, HP Lovecraft. If you missed it, go onto the channel and look at past live streams. We did yesterday. We went for about an hour and a half, just over, and we went into the Cthulhu mythos. We went into Yog Sothothery and cosmic horror and that sort of thing. Um, this subject tonight was recommended to me by Larry. Some of you know. And I thought, yeah, that's a great topic. Sometimes it's hard for me to think of topics because I'm not quite sure what people want to hear about. But let me know if this was a good one and what you'd like me to cover going forward. What entity likes red cloak for attire? Nomad Archer asks. Um, what entity? Well, I'm sure there's a lot. Red cloaks. So the first thing I think of is the elemental fire. Um, the next thing that I think of is Mars, the planetary energy of Mars. The next thing I think of after that is the zodiacal energy of Aries. And these are core symbols within the Western esoteric tradition in particular. And it's like an alphabet of symbols. And the tarot is, it, it contains that alphabet of symbols that form the core of the Western esoteric tradition. It has the elements, it has the planets, and it has the zodiac. And so that's what the first thing I think of. I'll start on the elemental level, then I'll take it to the planetary, and then I'll take it to the zodiacal. And I go through that natural progression: element, planet, zodiac, which is like right here on the earth, which is also referred to as the sublunary realm below the moon. Then I think of the planetary spheres. And then I think of the greater cosmos beyond that, the fixed stars, which which include the zodiac. So that's kind of the process that I go through when I think of those types of things. Hopefully that helped. But there's a multitude of things that it could represent. It could represent the it could represent chakras. What chakras are red? That's a question for you. If you know your chakras, which ones are red? And that can tell you something about it too. I also think of the light spectrum. The lowest frequency of visible light is red. The slowest moving light frequency with the least amount of energy, essentially. Whereas the light that's got a higher frequency, the highest level of visible light is violet or purple. So you can think of it that way too. And so red would be the slower, lower vibration, you could say. And what time do we have here? 11:07 Eastern time. I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. Thank you, Nomad Archer, for the super chat earlier. I really appreciate all of the financial support that I get for this channel. It makes a huge difference. Even just a $2 super chat, that's huge. That's huge to me, and I really, really appreciate it. Um, and everybody who participated in the live chat tonight, I really appreciate that interaction as well. The community, that's what I'm here for, to get that interaction with people like you who are genuinely interested in discussing these things, in learning, in teaching. I learn a lot from you guys from your comments as well. People who leave comments in the video below as well. I really appreciate that. That people who came after the fact that didn't weren't able to catch it live. If that's one of you, and you've made it this far, please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. And I try and respond to every comment that people leave, because I really do appreciate those comments. And yeah, if you clicked like on the video, that makes a big difference as well. I really appreciate that, and it shows me what topics really hit home with you guys. So again, thank you so much for everybody. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that comment that you left there, Mike. And for anybody who is a member of the Novus Ordo Luciferi or who joins now, we'll see you in just a few minutes when we start the private hangout tonight. And so I hope to see you there. And until next time, everyone, stay lucid.